They don't look too pretty, do they?
No, they don't do. If it's actually a problem, just cut a slit each way and it'll be able to go.
No,
Yeah.
I got a burn right here. Look. So I've got 2 gold ones in here, and we'll see if they make it. We brought 7 Lathams. We brought 6 Lathams. 2 are a little questionable.
Get those roots in there.
What kind of caterpillar is it?
It's chicken food.
Oh, no. You're going to feed him?
Yeah.
She has a huge trunk on her. You see how...
She's got multiple trunks.
Okay, let me have it refill. That was cold. Let me get one. That's really nice of him.
Well, it is finally time. We're getting to a project today that we've been putting off for a couple months. We've been busy, we've been in between trips, and we just haven't got this done. So right now, we're in the crawl space, and believe it or not, our house is semi-unique. This is our wellhead right here. So it sits right underneath our house, and we've been having some problems with this. We're gonna go outside, I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I feel like it's a few different things. Unfortunately, it has led me to the point where we're gonna be pulling up our well. So it's a big project. Let's head outside real quick. So this issue we've been having, we think it started like a couple months ago when Ariel was doing some laundry outside. And now that it's summer and we've been watering the garden hoses, they use a lot of water. We really noticed the problem. So check this out. I'm gonna fill up these big jugs for us because we might need to go get some parts and we might be without water for a little bit. So I'm gonna put this water on full blast. Okay, so the pressure just completely stopped, and then it slowly comes back, and as you can tell, we don't have good pressure anymore, so it's coming out a lot slower than it was. So we're actually fairly close to the pressure tank. It's right on the other side of the wall here, but when we're in the garden, we have like 3 hoses set up. It's like over 100 feet away. The pressure is really bad out there. Let's finish filling these up, and we're gonna head in the bathroom, and I'm gonna show you what's going on. Well, we're in our little bathroom. This is where our pressure tank is, and these are 2 things that we've noticed kind of as this problem has arose. The first thing is it's taken a really long time for the well pump to fill this pressure tank. You can look on the tank and it says that if you're running at the pressure settings we're doing it at, it only takes 9.3 gallons to fill this. And our well pump, I believe, is like a 12 gallon per minute well pump. So it should only take about a minute to fill this tank. It's taken, I timed it one time, almost 10 minutes to fill this tank, which is just way too long. The next thing I've noticed is I believe that when the well pump shuts off, somehow the water is actually going back down the well line all the way down in the well. So when the pressure switch kicks on and it tells the well pump to turn on, it's taking a long time for water to actually get up to this tank. Kind of hard to explain, but I'm gonna go turn on that hose again outside. Keep an eye on this gauge and you'll see what I'm talking about. So that's what's happening. Every time this well pump kicks on, it's having to travel, or the water is, all the way from however deep this well is, up the well, through the line, and then into the pressure tank. And by the time that water actually hits the pressure tank, our pressure is no longer at 40 psi when it's supposed to kick on. It's all the way down like super low. So we are gonna let the pressure tank fill up one more time so we can have a little bit of water to use. We're gonna turn off the breaker for the well. We're gonna disconnect the electrical, the ground, and then I'm gonna disconnect this well line somewhere. And then we're gonna see if we can kind of pull this thing up. It's a little tricky, being that it's in our crawl space. We're gonna see what we can do.
Outside or
Just right there. There it goes. Okay, why there's...
Why would there be air like that, honey?
Okay, I don't know. It's like air pressure in there. Look at this.
Clogged?
Just old years of corrosion and stuff. Actually, it's not that bad. Okay, at this point, let's see if this thing pulls up or not. There it goes.
That's the well in there.
Let's check this as we go. Like, this doesn't look... This doesn't look very good right here, you know what I mean? You're gonna go right out that front door. Go slower for me.
Okay, I'm not trying to go fast enough.
Oh, this thing is freaking heavy.
I made to open the door a little bit.
Yeah, you're gonna have to open the door. You can set it down if you need to. No, this thing's heavy. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, gosh. Keep going.
There we go, there we go. Okay, yeah, I can pull it up. Oh, that is effing heavy. Excuse me, like... I think we're getting near the bottom though, because why is it so gritty, Eric? Eric.
Yes.
I think we're near the bottom. Did you shine this yet? I think we're at the pump. I see it. I think I see the pump. It's right there.
Okay, keep going. I think it's leaking out the pump.
I heard some like gurgling sounds, but nothing that suspicious.
No, it's just a scratch. Let's take this off real quick and see what we're working with.
We're guesstimating that our well is about 100 feet. I think both of us had this impression that it was about 80. I think we just can't remember from the time that we purchased the place. And the spacers, they appear to be like every 10 feet. And there's 9 of them. So that's just a guess.
Well, we got it up and it was kind of a pain. This thing was a lot heavier. And like Ariel mentioned, it was a lot longer and deeper down than we thought it was going to be. This is a what's it called? A Grundfos pump. This is a half horsepower, 115 volt pump. It's a soft start pump, and what that means is when it gets power, it doesn't just like boom, hit full power and like max out your small generator or your power. It'll kind of start off slowly, build power, and then it'll go to full power, which is kind of a cool pump if you're running off of a solar system. This one is old, or I guess it's older. It's the original one with the cabin. I don't think it's been used too much, but it seems like there is a lot of debris and stuff going on down there, as you can tell by all this kind of like crusty, rusty sand all over everything. We've got a torque arrestor here for when the pump turns on, kind of relieves the torque on the well line, and then we've got the power going to the pump. It's a pretty simple setup. We put in our own well pump back at our old place, so we knew exactly what was in there and how to fix it if we had a problem. This one, we don't know. Now we know. And these pumps, I believe, are supposed to have something called a check valve on them. We have a check valve near our pressure tank, and that allows water to come into the pressure tank, but it doesn't allow water to come out of it. And I think what's happening is water is coming down the well line and draining out through this pump, because I believe that the one that this has internally or somewhere in it has failed. And we're gonna test it real quick. I'm gonna see if I can tip this up enough to kind of get it up and down. Oh yeah, that'll work. And this is where it sucks water in. Right there, and I'm gonna pour some water down there and let's see if it leaks out. It's not leaking out it. If I poured that through and it just leaked out, it wasn't holding at all. So we have a leak
It didn't leak.
somewhere.
Leaking.
Especially not as fast as we lose pressure. I made it leaks immediately. You got to think you have 100 feet of water on top of it though, so there is a little pressure on it. Maybe that's where it's leaking from.
Oh, why are you using the
Look at that, there's a hole right there. There's a hole right there for some reason.
That's corrosion through the metal.
No, someone drilled that hole. See that? Someone drilled
Is there
that hole.
supposed to be a hole there? If they drilled it intentionally?
Just got off the phone with one of our friends, Don, and he happens to be a plumber, and he is the plumber who installed this well pump and all the plumbing in this cabin. So it's a good person to know, and he gave me a ton of good information. So we found a hole right here on this little nipple that connects the 1-inch well line to the pump. And it was drilled in there because this cabin, up until we have moved in, has always been kind of like a vacation cabin where people haven't been staying here year round. So he would come here for them and he would winterize the cabin. And when he winterized the cabin, he would remove all the water from this well line. But talking to him, he said that now that we're living here full time, we were heating the house full time, he recommends plugging up this hole or just getting a whole new nipple. It'll be a lot easier system for us. That way the water will just stay in the line. But he did say that this pump taking like 8 to 10 minutes to fill up our small pressure tank. He says that's way too long. He thinks that this pump is on its way out. And since we're heading to Fairbanks tomorrow and it is a pretty big job to put in a well pump and pull it out and do all this, I am gonna see if I can pick up another pump. This one's a 1/2 horsepower. We're on a solar system. We like to keep our power consumption kind of low. He recommended that we jump up to a 3/4 horsepower and we'll see what kind of parts we can get our hands on. Bigger pump uses more power, but it fills your tank faster.
We're gonna need a different tank in the future anyways.
So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this right here. We're gonna slice this off, get a new one of these, and get a new pump, and then we're gonna have to splice these together. Well, we made it back with all of our supplies and we've been pretty busy out here this morning getting our well pump ready to get put down the well casing. And when I went to the well store, I was thinking that I was gonna upgrade to a 3/4 horsepower pump from our 1/2 horsepower. Turns out they don't have a 3/4 horsepower that's 115 volt, but what they did have was a different brand. This is Franklin Electric. It's supposed to be a pretty good pump. And this is a 10 gallon per minute pump. So every minute it's gonna pump out 10 gallons of water. Turns out our old one, the Grundfos, that was only a 5 gallon per minute pump. So this one should pump twice as fast for us. Very straightforward on putting this pump on. The wiring was exactly the same, so I just connected the colors where they went. We did have to get a new splice kit, and these are nice splice kits because they're meant to go underwater. So they actually have like a little glue in there that'll start to ooze out when it gets hot enough and you've got a good seal. One thing we also did add on this was a second check valve. So this has a check valve in it, but the guy at the store, he recommended, or at least how they set theirs up, is they always put another check valve right on the top. And a check valve is gonna let water come up to our house, but it's not gonna let it fall back down and drain out, which we do not want anymore. So we no longer have a little drain hole down at the bottom here. We're gonna be keeping water in our line constantly. We replaced some fittings down here that were galvanized. We now have brass ones. And then at the way top, where it's gonna connect into the wellhead, we also replaced a fitting in there. The old one was this one. This was also galvanized and it was getting all rusted out. I figured while we had it out, we'd replace it. So we got a brass one in there. We're done. Out here, it's all connected. It's ready to go. This one is also very heavy, but we're working with gravity this time. Let's see if we can get it in. We're missing having running water. I have a feeling our well water is going to be really dirty when it pumps up.
Probably.
It's like scraping all the rust and stuff down into it. Oh my God. It's so easy to put it down. Yeah, sorry. Nice.
Oh, you're here around the corner?
Yeah. My face, actually.
You done? You finished?
I hope so. Let's go.
Investigate.
Let's do some testing.
Cool. All right, we're going to turn the water on now, and Eric's going to flip the breaker switch. It's on.
It's on.
Full blast.
Okay. Full blast?
Yeah, hopefully nothing crazy happens. Yeah, I'm sure. Should I stand here? Yeah. Not too bad on the air.
It was pumping up fast immediately.
I know, you're right. I heard it gurgling, like real quick. That was instant.
See, I was thinking it'd be see how dirty it is?
It's not that dirty, but yeah.
No, look at that.
Well, that's dirty compared to our normal water. That's
That is
crystal clear.
extremely dirty. You see that?
That's rusty.
That's dirty. Get in there.
Another minute or two, I'd say.
Well, what should happen is the pressure tank should kick on when it gets to 40 psi. It's at 60 right now, so it's going to take about a minute. And it shouldn't, you shouldn't really lose any pressure. Maybe a tiny bit, but not like it was stopping before. I'm guessing the pump has already kicked on.
Well, yeah, it had to have, right?
Well, I definitely say that was mission accomplished. The pressure's not dropping out there at all. When the well pump kicks on, we can't even notice a difference. And it's filling up our pressure tank so fast that by the time we run in here, it's already almost full. So before, like I said, it was taking a long time. 8, 9, 10 minutes. I timed it a couple different times. I'm pretty sure this is taking like 30 seconds to fill up our tank, which is amazing. It's good to have running water again, and the well, this job we just did, this thing should not have to be touched for a very long time. And the next thing we'll do is we'll run out to the garden and we'll test the hose out there. That's at least like 150 feet of hose probably. So we'll see how the pressure is out there.
Yeah, I usually just go until it stops. All right, Eric handed the hose off to me. There was some tape on it because it's a high flow nozzle head, and he found that it just worked a lot better when we were blocking a little bit of off, but I don't think we need to do that anymore. So we took it off. Let's water just a little bit. Whoa, pretty cool. You said it's 150, but I think it's like 200 plus of hose. I could be wrong.
I think part of it is we have a major leak over here.
Well, it definitely works a lot better. It may not be a perfect system since we have quite a few hoses hooked up and there's a little bit of pressure loss, but it's noticeable to me. I can get the garden watered pretty fast, and now I should be able to do it even quicker with the better pressure. We do have intentions to put in a really cool like water system. We've got, you know, the wheels are churning, our ideas, we're thinking about stuff, but it's not gonna be this year, it's gonna be next summer because it's just too much to take on right now. We already have a lot of projects going on. We wanna take you for a quick little tour through the garden. This is our first year having the garden here, and it's July and things are under construction. I do think it'll look a lot different next year, but I wanted to show you now because if I don't, I have a feeling we're gonna get too busy and next thing you know, it'll be fall and the garden will be over. Let's go ahead and start right behind me. These are main beds. Let's start right here on the first one. This is corn, as you can tell. And I do not want to put this outside in the future. I want this to be in the greenhouse, but we don't have that built yet. And it is doing pretty well. It started off a little slow when it was cooler, but it's I think it looks pretty good. It's tasseling, and I think that we will probably get an ear off of each plant. You can tell I've been feeding a lot of nitrogen. The flowers on the edge are very deep green, and I don't know if I'm gonna always plant flowers intermingled with the beds, the vegetable beds. I originally thought I could have like a whole flower bed, but I kind of ran out of space, so that didn't happen this year. So we've got some extra plants down here in pots. This is horseradish. I have some, it's like a Russian variety, I think, of horseradish, and I'm gonna put it in a bed all to its own because it's pretty invasive, and I do think that it does really well in cold climates, so we don't have to worry about it, but she's just in a pot for now. This bed is a mix of brassicas. So I have like Veronica cauliflower, and I think I have purple broccoli. I have some random kohlrabis in there and some fennel and just, again, other random things. What happened was early in the season, I had some of my plants, I thought they were gonna bolt because they had been in our little makeshift high tunnel for a while. So I restarted some, and these are the ones that I had started latest. So they're still growing. I think we're gonna get a head off of them. They look pretty good. This is the type of growth I would wanna see. They're just like really green and leafy and big, starting to be big. This is a weed that's been popping up. I'm not familiar with it, but I am picking it because I don't want weeds in the garden. Let's get this. So it's a nice young one. We're harvesting these now because I probably planted like 80, and that's a lot to eat. Eric likes to eat these fresh. They're really good in salads, and they're good cooked as well. So we usually give the greens to the chickens, and then we take the bulb. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, if you didn't catch when we made the beds, they are made out of just spruce lumber. They're 2 feet wide by 20 feet long. There's 9 of them here, and they're about a foot deep. And they've been doing an excellent job at retaining the water. I didn't know how that was gonna work out, but we were just gone for a little while, I think 8 days in total, and these beds actually did amazing with the hot heat on their own. Pretty cool. Let's jump over to the potatoes. So we have 2 complete rows, probably more than we need, and they look fantastic. I am making sure to give them a lot of water, and I'm doing a little bit of liquid phosphorus, which I don't typically do. I usually just put granular bone meal on them when we're planting them. I've really enjoyed seeing the different leaves of the different varieties. There's one down at the bottom that has this huge chunky leaf. It's really cool. They're starting to flower. Look at how big that leaf is. So cool. I have a feeling these are going to do really well. Typically we will do hilling up, and we got in here, it was a few weeks ago. Eric was able to, we were able to kind of like bouquet the plants and then put a bunch of compost on them. So an extra shot of fertilizer, pretty exciting. But that's about it. We definitely can't hill them up anymore because they're in raised beds. Hey, look at that. Mushrooms. We did use a lot of steer and horse manure for our garden, so I'm not surprised to find some weeds. This is the most common weed we are finding. I think it's called lamb's quarter. I could be wrong on that, but this is actually one of the easiest weeds to have because it's very obvious, even hidden in the potatoes. It has this long stalk. It doesn't do as well. It doesn't do as good with competition, so it doesn't necessarily like shade, which is good because we have a lot of crowding in here. It's got just one little root. It doesn't spread by its roots. It hasn't really produced any seed yet, so this is probably like my favorite weed, I would say. That was about 80 potatoes, over double what we usually plant. This is the onion, leek, and shallot row, and it's a couple hundred. I don't actually know. It's a lot though. Eric and I have been weeding as we go. This bed I already got, but the grass was so small at the time that I wasn't really able to get the roots, and I wanted to wait until it was a little more mature like this. Grass is not ideal. It definitely spreads by its roots, so. But it's not, again, not the worst weed.
What's the worst weed?
Chickweed. I've been feeding the onions a lot of nitrogen. I think they look really awesome now, and we're starting to get some bulbing, so I'm gonna stop feeding them nitrogen. I haven't actually fed them, I think, in a little while. Unlike the onions, which don't like competition, cabbage usually does okay with weeds. Eric's grabbing a few weeds out of here. He's really good at picking the weeds for me. And we do have a weed bucket of death that I'll show you later, but the habit I've been getting into, which isn't a good habit, is kind of just dropping them on the ground. But I definitely need to stop that because they're probably going to root and start to grow there. These are the large cabbages. This one's the biggest one so far, and it's about 2 weeks plus older than these two, which I always find interesting. It's only advantageous to start plants early if you can actually provide them with the environmental conditions that they need to grow, and specifically their root ball. They really need just like continuous space to expand. So if you can't do it, you're not gonna really be helpful starting your stuff early, which is kind of obvious here because this one was started significantly after these. Got a beautiful mix of cabbages. That's something that grows very well in Alaska. And I realized just the other day that we have about 4 different plants, 1 cauliflower, 1 broccoli, 1 kohlrabi, and then 1 cabbage that is missing the head. So a few years ago, this happened to us at our old property. It was a little more prevalent then. I think we had like 15 plants that it happened to. It's called a midge. So a little bug is somehow attracted to the growing center of the plant, which forms the head in a cabbage, and it eats it or something happens to it, and the plant will continue to grow, but it usually just produces those outer leaves, so you don't really notice it until later. This is the squash row. It's doing fairly well for being outside. I do want to put all of these in the greenhouse, so I don't want to even mess around with them out here. It's just too unstable. I guess unpredictable would be the right word. We do have a warm summer here, but it's not long. It's not even 90 days. And squash typically need like at minimum 90 days to get like a nice cured squash. We're gonna see how this pans out. So far it's looking okay. We're starting to see some squash and zucchinis form. It looks like we will be able to harvest some of the zucchini soon. The fruit tree sticks are doing pretty good. I've really been focusing on watering them. They don't have the competition that they've had in the past, and this well system is working amazing. When I water every time, at least once a week, the water just sits in there. So each fruit tree gets a couple gallons of water, which is, I mean, I think they're really liking it. They look really good for how small they are. We did make a trip to our old place and decided to bring some of the fruit trees there along with us. It's a little bit of a gamble. The 2 varieties that we brought are not known to survive up here, so we'll see what happens. I thought they looked too good to pass on. I know they don't look that good, honestly, but this is what I'm talking about. So the stalks are thick, and when we first got these fruit trees, they looked a lot like that one over there, real thin stalk. These have super chunky stalks, so I feel like there's a lot of potential in this tree. What was happening there was the branches would break from just being like too dry and brittle, and also the weight of the snow. So I intend to keep better care of them here, and it's definitely a possibility things will work. This is I'm pretty sure these are 4+. No, they're actually like 5 to 6 year old. You know, if you're looking at when we got it from the orchard, we've had it for about 4 years. So it's definitely a tree that I think is worth trying. Got 8 fruit trees in total. 2 are crab apples. We built another bed back here, and we need to build a few more. We're now gonna have these kind of lining almost the entire garden. We planted comfrey from the old place here. I think it'll make it. It's a pretty hardy root, and yeah, we had a lot of it there, but I didn't actually dig it up because it was so beautiful. So I just took small little divisions, I guess you would say. And there's actually mountain cornflower right here. This was a gift. It's not looking too pretty, but it's a perennial, and I think it will be able to survive here. It's a really pretty bright blue flower and just has like this big, bushy, kind of fuzzy foliage. Another fun wheelbarrow over here. We have Russian tarragon, which usually overwinters. I dug some up. Not looking good, but that's not important because it's the root. We want the root to survive, and if it does, it will put new shoots out or new growth. This is some just like standard chives. We bought this plant like 5 years ago, and it's massive. It's just huge. Chives are something, it's the one herb that you can like guarantee you can grow in Alaska without even trying very hard. All of the herbs and the flowers are doing pretty awesome along the garden fence. This is the creeping thyme and lemon balm. We've got perennials over here, yarrow, lovage, catnip, honeywort, some coneflower, purple coneflower. It does perennialize, but I never get it, it never flowers. So I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but I planted some. This is French sorrel, also a perennial. It's really good fresh. It tastes kind of like if you were to eat a clover. It tastes lemony. It doesn't really hold up to cooking. It's doing really well here, probably better than it's ever done in the past. And we've been harvesting quite a bit for salads. We've got some borage, white flowers, which are new. I've never grown the white flowers, and purple flowers. They usually get a lot bigger. We also have salvia here. It usually gets a lot bigger. All of our flowers this year are stunted, so to speak, although still beautiful. They're just not really the full size that they would be had like I got them planted earlier in the year. On the end we have honeywort, which is absolutely gorgeous in person. It's one of my favorite plants. I haven't really used it for any sort of teas or anything like that, but the colors, it's like the full rainbow in there of indigo, and it grows really well here. So if you're looking for like a cooler flower plant that you don't have to work very hard for, I would recommend that plant. It's gorgeous. Now some of these plants will perennialize and some of them will basically reseed themselves. So it's not the root that survives, it's their seeds that, you know, spread, and those will survive our winters and then come back and make new plants in the spring. This is sage and some really cool oregano, and then calendula, and this is a really good flower for our climate too as well. This is an orange mix and it's stunning. More herbs, we've got thyme, savory, some star anise, which I don't know how to use. It looks beautiful. We've got bachelor buttons and Indian coriander. I am pumped about this. Usually we grow cilantro and I have to kind of stagger it. Typically when you're growing cilantro, you're growing the leaf part of it. You don't want it to flower or bolt. So it's like a hybrid variety. Whereas this is meant to actually flower and produce the little seeds. So you get the coriander and you can save that spice for later, which is awesome. In the past, we just haven't been able to, our season's not long enough to let that happen. But these have been putting on the seeds like right away. So we've already been using them. Got some gorgeous kale right on the end. I think it's red boar, and some dazzling blue and Toscana, very small. I had to reseed these late May, early June, so they're just now getting to the point where we could harvest from them, especially these varieties. I had really freaked out thinking that our plants were gonna bolt, but a lot of them did actually okay. We dumped them over in the soil if they're extras, and they're actually growing over there. So maybe they weren't going to bolt. I don't know. I could have been wrong about that. There's the most stunning flower here. I've never grown them before. Livingstone daisies. They kind of crawl and they have such beautiful, vivid colors. This is kind of like a salmon, peachy pink, and I don't know why. I absolutely love it. I've never been so excited to see mushrooms. Yeah, she's ready to eat. The lettuces are jam-packed. We have 2 beds with lettuces. We have auric, some strawberry spinach, some purslane, sorrel, red vein sorrel, and then more kohlrabi. Everything's looking really good. The celery is still growing. Eric likes to snack on it when it's immature, so we'll give this slice to him. The Swiss chard looks great. And I have pink celery here too. We've never tried growing pink celery, so that's looking pretty good. I'm really happy with this celery. I've been fertilizing it a lot and it looks very just green and robust, really like massive. Oh, that's not even the biggest. These massive leaves. So hopefully it's a good year for the celery. The artichokes are putting good growth on. I'm not sure we're going to get any crowns from them. We'll see if that experiment works out or not. The Brussels look fantastic. They're putting on the growth that I would hope that they would in order to produce nice shoots, I guess we'll call them, little Brussels, little sprouts. These are a long season crop, so it takes a long time and quite a bit of fertilizer to get some good results from them. The cauliflower and broccoli that I planted, the ones that I was like, meh, I don't know if they're gonna bolt. They actually look pretty good. They're making heads, but they're significantly smaller than I would hope for. Like our cauliflower normally is like this big. So they're a lot more stunted, but we are still gonna get heads of cauliflower and broccoli, which is pretty cool. That's a nice one. Let me see if I got. That's our first harvest of fennel. These bulbs look pretty good. They're not yet at full maturity, but we need some for dinner tonight. I forget what variety this is. It's a different variety that I've grown in the past. So pretty cool. I think they look really good. And I almost forgot to mention that we have collards growing here too. We have just 2 plants. They are very productive and we have a hard time keeping up with them. This was the mustard row next to me. It's come and gone. We ate a lot from it. We were a little late to get these out, but we still got a pretty decent harvest. All the flowers are going now and the bugs like the nectar quite a bit from these flowers, so I leave them. This is gonna be the garlic bed in the fall, and we've got quite a bit of more lettuce on the backside of it. That's the bucket that we previously mentioned. I'm finding that method works pretty good. It seems to like cook the weeds, and we also are going to like light them on fire. We're gonna put them in the burn barrel. I really want to have like a weed program here. Just like really take care of it to make sure they don't get out of control. This bed is parsley, dill, we have some more chives, and then some more cilantro, coriander, and chamomile. These are our peas. They're a little bit late. We haven't yet harvested from them. I already want to do more peas. So we like snap peas, but I find that we eat snow peas more. And really recently we've been getting into shelling peas. So I want a lot more than this. And I also want to have some for like cutting the shoots or the tops off and eating. I envision that we're gonna add peas to another bed in the future. The basil is doing shockingly well. Normally basil doesn't do well when I put it just out in the elements in the garden. It's protected by some shade, and I think that's why it seems to be doing so well. So we've already been taking little leaves off there. We've got some flowers in the mix. We have something called coreopsis over here. It's flowering pretty early. It's a really cute little plant. It comes in all different colors. The mint looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's like looking better than any mint we've ever grown. Super lush, super green. We're gonna harvest a bunch of it and dry it. We've also been using it freshly for teas. More flowers. I predict that we will be doing sunflowers in the greenhouse. They're doing so-so out here. Various herbs in that wheelbarrow. This little flower bed is doing pretty good. There's a lot of color in there, including the bachelor buttons. Bachelor buttons are super easy to grow, and they come in all different colors. They're absolutely beautiful. I really like them in tea. I also really love straw flowers. It's probably my favorite flower. I don't have any examples right now to show you. I think that it was named because of the texture, so it has a really good scent and it feels like straw. I think they're a little bit later to bloom, so hopefully we see some this year. Got some cosmos. These are our hotbeds. So I was calling them hotbeds. Traditionally, they would actually be called cold frames. A hotbed is a little bit deeper, and you use some sort of like manure or something to basically heat up the soil, hence the name hotbed. We have glass, so these are technically cold frames, but I'm probably still gonna call them hotbeds. We have carrots, like turnips, beets in here. They're doing okay. I think in the future, I absolutely want to put them in one of the main beds and just tend to them more, make sure they're more being taken care of. They seem just like a little slow over here. So I don't know how the harvest is going to be this year. Check out these zinnia leaves. They haven't flowered yet, but the leaves are just like super big. This is our asparagus bed. It was not supposed to have flowers in it. In the future it won't, but there was a lot of bare soil and I ran out of space, so I plugged in a bunch of flowers, and I'm kind of happy I did because it minimizes the amount of weeds that are growing in this bed. And right now it looks like actually all of the asparagus are coming up. They are very small, but I'm hopeful they will overwinter and we will be harvesting asparagus in a few years. And I'm pretty excited that it looks like all of them came up. I think we have like 20 something in this bed. As a whole, I'm very excited that we did the flowers. I know back in January when I mentioned flowers, Eric had a look on his face when he said flowers, like you're planting flowers this year, because we had to start all these seeds and plants inside the cabin. I think he wasn't too excited about that, but I feel like flowers in the last few years, they're really, I don't even know how to describe them. They're absolutely beautiful. I love having them. I'd probably even take away some of the vegetable plants and have just flowers because they're that important to me. So I'm really happy that we have them and I get to see them flower and their beauty. Another amazing thing this year, probably going to be like my #1 plant, is these strawberries. So they're toklat, and I had read phenomenal things about them because they're developed up in the interior of Alaska, but these have just absolutely blown us away. When we came back a few days ago, Eric looked over here and he saw ripe berries. So these are plants that just got planted this year. I mean, it hasn't even been like 6 weeks at all. It's mind-blowing that they're putting on such thick growth. They had a bunch of runners. Eric went along and clipped them for us, and they have a lot of berries. We've already been eating them. So there's a bunch of ripe ones right now, it looks like, that we can pick. It's like the best strawberry I've ever had. It's that good. A reason that we find this so amazing is because they're first year plants. These are basically runners from a mother plant, and we purchased them in little pots, and so I didn't really expect them to basically explode like they have and produce berries and already have ripe berries that taste amazing, out of this world, and make runners. So right now we just want them to put the energy on probably growing and I guess their fruit. So we are clipping all of those runners off, but it's so cool. You come out here every few days and there's more berries to pick. This is the other variety of strawberry we have. It's not doing as well, but in all fairness, it was dormant. So it wasn't like these ones that didn't have that jump start. They look okay. I think in the future, we're probably only gonna grow that variety. If you caught the video where we put these beds in, it is looking a lot more full over here since we have pretty much planted all of the plants now. So we have our Latham raspberries in this bed. These are suckers from our raspberries back at our previous place. We were gonna dig up the whole plant, but they just look so beautiful and I didn't want to disrupt them. There was a lot of suckers, so we just sectioned them out and took a sucker. There's a golden variety over here. I did take the mother plant of that one, and then we have the Kiska. Only 5, I think, of those survived. 2 of them didn't survive from when we initially planted the cane. We've got all 5 of our rhubarb plants here. These don't look that good right now because we had to yank them up and replant them, but I think that they're gonna develop over time. The other 2 that we started from seed look pretty good for this year. We're not gonna be harvesting any of the stalks though, but they look pretty nice. The goose, no, it's currants. We have currants that fill the rest of the bed. The gooseberries are over here. They have thorns. This is a variety we had that we dug up and brought here. That's why he's so big. We actually thinned it out a little bit. They get pretty big if you give them time. So these little small guys will probably be pretty big in the future. The spots we left for the haskaps have been filled in. This is the pollinator haskap we have. I don't for sure know the variety, but it does pollinate the other bushes that we have. And these ones right here, the newer kinds, should all like pollinate at the same time, so we shouldn't have any issues with that. They're a lot smaller, as you can tell. I think the plants are doing really good because it's basically, we did it in like 48 hours. So we ripped up the plants, drove here, and planted them pretty much the next day. So to me, they look pretty good. A little crispy. That's from the drive, the wind, and they were massive. We started out with them 4 years ago, and they were a lot smaller, and they have just like these huge trunks now. We've got a few other various plants and bushes around here. I do have rose rugosa in pots. I took little cuttings of it. I didn't want to dig up the plant again because it was so beautiful. I didn't want to dig it up, and we really didn't have room, honestly. Our trailer was completely full. So I'm hoping that those take. Rose rugosa is a beautiful rose, and kind of gonna have to start all over again with that. This area is not in its full glory yet. It probably will be in a few years, so I'm gonna be patient, and I'm excited for that. We have plans to build the high tunnel this year, or the greenhouse, and that pretty much completes the tour. So I hope you enjoyed it. We are going to pick a little bit more for our dinner tonight. Cut the bums off.
This one's yours.
We've got quite the spread for dinner. We finally made it out here. We've got some gorgeous focaccia bread that we made. It's a 2-day process to get her all bubbly like that. It's actually a really simple bread, just active dry yeast, water, sugar, a lot of olive oil, and then we just like put some really pretty flowers and herbs on there. And then Eric's got some drinks for us.
Yeah, we've got some strawberry mint mojitos with lime, orange, thyme, rosemary, club soda. Mine might have a little splash of something else in there, we don't know. And then we're also cooking up some meat that we've never had before. And this is caribou, which we've had a lot, but this is the tenderloin. Very delicate piece of meat. This is gonna be good.
And then we've got like a fennel feta salad. I just remember we don't have the feta out here, but it's gonna have cucumber, kohlrabi, a few other little ingredients. It's meant to be kind of like a side dish, and the only cooked part is going to be the fennel.
We made this recipe a long time ago. We don't really remember when we got the recipe, but it's like the best way to eat fennel. So it's the fennel sauteed with some melted feta and some olives in there.
Yeah.
Really good.
Really good.
Really good.
Really good. Oh, cheers to summer.
To the new well pump.
Cheers to the garden and the well pump. Cheers to everything. To life, love, and laughter.
Oh my, it's so good. So crisp.
Live life loud, that's our saying?
Live life loud.
That's really good with the strawberry and the citrus.
I know.
We waited till it cooled down a little bit. It was very hot today, and I think it's approaching 9:30 p.m.
It is getting late. I'm starving. Oh, this thing went out. That is an olive. Forget the kind. I don't know what it's called, but it doesn't taste like an olive.
It just smells like what it's supposed to smell like.
Summer is a crazy time here.
But with herbs specifically, they lose like their luster in the store. Remember the one olive I really like? Look at how bubbly it is.
It's pretty crazy.
That's what patience gets you.
Okay, I'm gonna take one bite.
Yeah, let's take a bite. Mmm, fluffy.
That's it.
What do you think Bo be doing right now, sitting inside?
Huh.
I know. You wouldn't even notice because he wasn't outside very much, but...
I'd say, like, just let him do whatever he wants
No,
to do,
Bob.
but we'd lose him.
You
If something would happen.
You wouldn't lose him, but he eats things that now that are toxic. You're seriously giving us each a tenderloin?
Yeah, we each get a huge chunk of meat.
This is a beautiful meal. Eric and I are grateful for the food from the garden and that we got our water issues addressed.
Yeah, everything's working good. It's working so good. It's like one of those upgrades you do. It's just amazing. It's been awesome.
Water and solar, man. We got it all.
We do. Got a little balsamic and olive oil that we're dipping our focaccia bread in. This looks absolutely delicious.
Why are you calling it focaccia?
What is it, focaccia?
Focaccia.
Focaccia, sorry.
Focaccia?
I gotta check this caribou tenderloin out.
I didn't. You really surprised me when you just like put a slab of meat on the plate. I just find it remarkable that an animal that bouncy doesn't have any sort of...
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm just...
Caribou is bouncy, and they move, and they do not taste gamey at all.
No, not even close to deer.
Well, that's like a Greek salad, is what I'd call that.
It's amazing because it's like, it sat for like 2 days, and look, it was like that thin when I rolled it out today.
That's crazy. It's
It
so
rose by
fluffy.
like a...
It's huge now. Whoa. For how good that meat is, it's actually third on my list. I like the salad because it's amazing. The bread, it's amazing. And then the meat. But it's like the meat is amazing too.
No,
A lot of places, it does not rain in the summer.
not the West Coast, honey bun.
In Oregon, it did not rain in the summer.
Yes, but you're talking about mild climates. I think if you go into the interior of the United States, you're going to get some hot, steamy.
You guys tell us, where you live, does it rain in the summertime? Because in Alaska, all of a sudden, it'll just start raining. And I'm not used to that yet.
You haven't even went back for the steak. It's really good.
That bird's crazy. You nailed it.